Welcome back here to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network. Danny Cahalan, Ryan Elke, Anthony Bellino, all joining you. Time now to talk a little Michigan football and basketball with our good friend Anthony Broome. Welcome back to the program. AB, what is going on? How are you? How's life? How are things, my friend?
Not much. It's a March is in the year, although it's given way already to kind of a chaotic April. But that's how it goes in the Michigan sphere. You know how that goes, AB. Good to be back with you. Thank you for having me.
And by the way, you can find Anthony on Twitter now at Broome ON3. What happened to the Twitterverse, man? What's going on here? They locked you out?
That's a question for Elon and the powers that be. I have no idea. Someone got in, account was compromised, started a new one, still working on getting the other one back. Not very optimistic about it, but maybe it's a sign from the internet gods that maybe it's time to pivot to TikTok or something. I don't know. Is that what people are using now? I'm still stuck in like this 2010s version of the internet.
Yeah, I don't think TikTok's gonna be around here for much longer. So I don't know if I would pivot there. I don't know I don't really know what the answer is, but you could find his work at On3. You could definitely do that. So let's hop in first to the basketball news. 20 hours ago, Michigan men's basketball tweets out the graphic from Kobe Bufkin, has elected to forego his remaining eligibility and enter the 2023 NBA draft. Does this mean that he is like he is done playing any sort of college basketball? Because you can declare for the draft, but then you can still come back. Is there any coming back here?
Yeah, the word of his Instagram post was interesting because he ends it with "buff out," which to me is a pretty emphatic. Hey, thanks for the memories. I'm ready to explore this. But by the letter of the law, he can technically. There are even some agents that he could sign with and still maintain his eligibility with the NCAA. But Kobe Bufkin, I think right now is a first round prospect. I think once he gets into these workouts with teams, I can see him maybe moving up into the lottery a little bit. So. For me, it's, I know from a Michigan fan perspective, there are always people that say, oh, well, if he comes back, works on this, and this, he might be a top 10 pick or a top 5 pick. And, the reality of the situation is that not everybody has that ceiling. But I do think Kobe's is high. I do think if he did come back next year, he would have been, someone who could push for a top 10 pick. But, you don't have to look too hard at what's going on with what he would be coming back to and also what's ahead of him already in terms of, being a millionaire now instead of waiting years. So I do think that, putting everything into consideration, I think that the door is closed on the Kobe Bufkin era.
Wow. So there's that news. We already knew that Jet was going to be a one and done. We knew that the whole season, so that wasn't really any surprise. But the bombshell that came in on Friday, I mean, my phone was going absolute hammer time on Friday. I'm busy. I'm trying to work. I'm grinding it out. It's the middle of the day. People are hooting and hollering. I'm like, what is happening right now? What kind of 4-alarm emergency is going off? And that is Hunter Dickinson has entered his name into the transfer portal. I have my own theory on this. What say you, Anthony Broome? What is going on here with this mass exodus? Because now you've taken away Jett Howard, which, I mean, to be honest with you, more of a shooter than a creator. I don't know if he was used properly. Whatever, that's neither here nor there. I suppose we could debate that with people who are a whole lot smarter than I am. We have Kobe Bufkin, a legit, real-deal player. Hunter Dickinson, a quiet 2010 guy any given night. All three of those guys now gone. The program is officially on notice right now that things are going to get a little rocky.
Yeah, I mean, to address the three being gone first, I think it's the overarching sentiment, at least from my perspective, is that what a disappointing season that you could lose 2 lottery picks and an All-American center, a guy who's been an All-American at center in the past, and you have nothing to show for it. You got bounced in the second round of the NIT. You finished 18 and 16. To me, there is some kind of, I always thought that it was possible that 2 of the 3 would come back, and if it did, you plug a few things via the transfer portal and you get back on the horse and make a run at it next year. But something is off about I don't know if it's the culture. I don't know if it's a Jawan thing, but something's amiss here. And, you don't really have guys banging down the door to come to Michigan right now. You have them, banging on the door to let them out. And as far as Hunter Dickinson goes, I mean, it's really tough to put into words how frustrating his decision is because, okay, if the sentiment on his part is, listen, I've done what I can here. I know that I'm not a guy that's going to, can do this on my own. I'm ready to go to another team and chase a national title and, call a spade, go to a program that can offer me a little more from an NIL perspective. His chance to make money playing basketball is finite. It just is. There's not much of an appetite for the throwback big man in the NBA anymore. So I get all of that. And I think if he comes out and puts out some kind of, if he controls his own message from, hey, Michigan fans, thank you. It's been a wonderful 3 years. After much consideration, I've decided to enter the transfer portal. I don't know that there's as much of a storm as there is, but the fact that it came from, someone who has notorious Twitter and social media fingers, that he dropped this announcement through sources, through friends, and still as of Monday morning, I mean, maybe I've been pretty locked in this week, and I haven't seen anything come from him, but it's kind of if you think it's a snake move, I think I could get on board with calling it that. Michigan didn't know what was going on with him. Coaches found out via social media. Players found out via social media. There were people we talked to as recently as Thursday who were convinced that he was still coming back. So, yeah, I mean, this is that's the one. It hurts from losing a player perspective, a player of his caliber, but it's also kind of a slap in the face for, a program that's kind of given him a platform to do whatever he wants. And I know he'll say, I gave up Twitter for Lent or whatever, but this is, he is the highest caliber basketball player to enter the transfer portal. And for it to go down like it has, I think it does affect his legacy at Michigan. And, I don't know that will ever sit well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure. I saw Juwan Howard's statement on the departure, which I thought was really eloquently written, by the way. I don't know how you could take this one on the chin and stand there and just be like, oh, well, thank you so much. That's a good move on his part because I don't know. I don't know if it's someone who spends that much time investing in someone to have them leave when things are starting to get tough. That hurts a lot. But for me, I'm like, it sounds and kind of feels like a little bit of a, I know we say NIL, but a little pay for play sort of free agency. Like, all right, I'm going to go out there. How much money can I make? Where can I go where I know that people are going to pay me to be out here? Can I get more? And if I can't get more, maybe I can come back. And, there obviously the door would be wide open if he decides to come back. But it does, with Juwan Howard saying we wish Hunter and his family all the best in the future. Who knows what that really means? But it does kind of feel like a little bit of a, as you mentioned, there is a finite amount of time. You can make more money here than you can overseas, depending on, where you go. And I don't know that, he's not an NBA fit as of right now until his feet get a whole hell of a lot faster. So I don't know, man. It's very, very interesting time from a scale of like 1 to 10. 1 being absolutely no concern. You're going to be right up there with UConn next year fighting for national championships. 10 being, oh, my God, break the glass, hit the emergency button like Houston, we have a problem. What's your level of concern now moving forward for the 23-24 season for Michigan Hoops as it stands right now?
Man, I mean, if you'd asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have maybe been at like a 5.5 or a 6. I think I'm at like an 8 right now. And honestly, I might be being kind to them when I say that. The transfer portal is still open. There are some guys, maybe you can piece something together here and surprise some people next season. But, as of right now, you go through the potential starting lineup. Doug McDaniel, I think, is good. I think he's a keeper. You go through Doug McDaniel. It would be Namari Burnett. I mean, maybe Yusef Kayat plays the 3. Terrence Williams at the 4. Terrace Reed at the 5. There's just not enough offense there. And I didn't see anything from him this year defensively to suggest that you can kind of hang your hat on that either and kind of be what a San Diego State is. When you look at these two teams, you look through the prism of these two teams that are playing tonight. So, yeah, I'm like at an 8, an 8.5. I mean, I think Juwan's a good X's and O's head coach. I think that roster construction has obviously been difficult the last couple of years. Well, now he has to do the best job of that he's ever done to even keep this thing afloat next year. So it's rough. It's really rough right now. There's no sugarcoating it at all. We'll see what they do in the portal. They are active. They are in on a lot of guys, but is it going to be enough? I mean, you probably need a Hunter Dickinson caliber transfer to come in to really raise that ceiling, and he's not. There's only a few of those type of guys, and they aren't coming to Michigan right now. They're leaving Michigan, so we'll see what happens.
And if it doesn't get real scary for Michigan fans, when you take a look at what the kids in East Lansing, what the Izzone has going on, and the guys that they brought in, a number 3 overall class ranking in all of college basketball. Oh, my God. Oh, scary hours. Come on, the Izzo kids, they're rebounding, rallying, and I feel like that, boy, if things go – if you thought this year was disappointing, 18 and 16, you get this mass departure from 3 key players, 2 going to the league, okay, that's one thing you kind of hang your hat on. But the other one, the biggest name entering the portal, you've got yourself some problems. And people are going to start looking over there and saying, okay, well, maybe we need to make some changes. I'm just saying – seed heater might get clicked on, and that's a real possibility. All right, you were in attendance for the spring game, were you not?
I was, yes.
Okay, let me just preface this by saying we were not planning on doing full PA. It was going to be a couple things on the field. They were going to do their game. That was going to be that. Inclement weather. We end up going upstairs. Of course, it doesn't rain, but thank God we were upstairs because it was windy as hell. Then they're like, yeah, let's just do full PA. Let's do it. I didn't even know Cole Cabana wasn't going to be playing. He was listed on the roster at 24. My apologies, Danny Hughes. That's the roster I was given. My bad, people. My bad. All right. There are a couple guys. First off, let's go wide receiver. O'Leary. Oh, my goodness. Does he have a chance? Like, that kid caught everything. I think that's a name people got to be really, really well aware of going into this season.
I think so, too, only because going back to last offseason, we were hearing, they were calling him Cooper Cup Light, and he was catching everything in practice. And, you always take things like that with a grain of salt because Jim Harbaugh and his coaches tend to kind of mention everyone in press conferences so nobody gets left out. But this is really our first extended chance to see it. And, it comes with the caveat, most of his and this can be taken either way, most of his production came against Demorian Walker, who has only really been playing cornerback for the last 6 or 7 weeks. And, he has a lot of work to do. But, I mean, man, he caught everything. And he's 6'3". He's got that wide catch radius. And it makes you wonder, when you're looking at Michigan, what they can improve on offense from last year. Pushing the ball more towards the end zone, having these taller targets to kind of go up and catch the football. You wonder if there's a role for a guy like that. So, I mean, do I think he's going to press, Roman Wilson or Cornelius Johnson for, number 1 wide receiver? I don't think so. He's probably more of like a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 at best. They have a lot of guys that they're going to work in. But, yeah, that was eye-opening. And it's not, it didn't come out of nowhere. They've been seeing him make plays like that in practice for the last 2 years. So I'm excited to see where it goes for him. He's a good story, walk-on that earned a scholarship. Yeah, you want to see, everyone fixates on, this guy was a former 4-star recruit, former 5-star recruit, whatever. Right now, I mean, he was easily, to me, the most impressive wide receiver on the field Saturday. A lot of caveats to that, but even without the production that he had, I liked what I saw out of him.
Benjamin Hall is another name that I think people really need to be aware of. He's a guy that, I mean, he ran with some purpose, and he was a 3-star, coming out of the 24/7, composite, a 3-star athlete. So what was he, 55, the 55th best running back, the 79th best prospect out of Georgia. Like this kid can play.
Yeah, for him too. It's, one of our recruiting guys went and saw him, I think last fall, and he had like 3 carries for -2 yards, and he hardly played. And we're sitting there going, all right, what does Michigan see in this guy? What does Mike Hart see in this guy? And that's the other thing, the takeaway majorly from the last couple of weeks. Look at the recruiting trail. You look at just how deep Michigan's backfield is when you go in that spring game on Saturdays. I think Mike Hart knows what he's doing. I trust the Mike Hart evaluation. When you have a guy, I think he's like 5'11", 230. He's got tree trunks for legs. I mean, he looks the part. And I think for them, the project is getting him to run what he looks like. And, what we saw Saturday, I mean, I thought he was fairly decisive as a runner. I thought that he had a little more juice to him than I thought, based on some of his recruiting tapes. So, yeah, it's a name to watch. I mean, you've got Edwards, you've got Corum. Things are pretty deep there, but I kind of think you just have this cluster of guys at the third running back spot. And, some weeks it'll be one guy, some weeks it'll be another. But Benjamin Hall, I mean, I think he looked, he opened some eyes. So, again, it's a spring game. There's often guys that kind of come out of nowhere and become these spring game folk heroes that we never hear from again. But he looks the part, and I'm really excited for them to see what he can do. How much more can you put on his plate?
And they get a big commitment from Jaden Davis, the number 35 overall prospect in the 2024 class. This is the number 3 dual threat quarterback in the class. He's 6'1", he's 200 pounds. Where he takes the Wolverines over just about every other major program in the country. The way that this quarterback room is shaping up, we assume that, you get J.J. McCarthy obviously this year, but then after this year, don't really know. If he has a really big year, you'd have to imagine he's going to explore his NFL possibilities. And then, you have a physical freak like, Orgy back there. His arms are just massive. I'm like, can we get this guy a little bit of time? Like, the guy could throw an absolute rocket for a football. How do you think that the quarterback room shapes up after this year?
Yeah, them getting Davis is huge because now you kind of have this line of succession, which is, one of the I'll say it's a nitpicky concern, but the backup quarterback job this year, typically it's filled by guys that you think, oh, a year or two down the road, you're going to see them potentially starting at Michigan. I don't think they have that this year. So for them to land a Jaden Davis who's going to come in, I think fairly ready to play next year. I'm not, I don't know if he's a start as a freshman type guy, but I think you could probably put him in a game and do some things with him. But now you have him. I think that I don't know what Alex Orgy is as a player yet. Like I said, he looks like a linebacker. The ball comes off of his hand a million miles an hour. They could do something with him. I don't know if he's a quarterback. He might be a running back. Maybe he's a linebacker. I don't know. But he seems like another guy that you just kind of get him on the field and figure it out. All of a sudden, yeah. I mean, you got those guys. Bryce Underwood in 2025 might be the best quarterback in the entire country, and he's just down the road at Belleville. So that's a guy that could potentially be a Michigan guy. So all of a sudden, you're looking at, in order to sustain winning at the level that they have, you have to have, a plus quarterback on your roster. And, they obviously have one in JJ. I think that they'll have one in Jaden Davis, and you can keep that thing rolling. Michigan, has a chance to keep sustaining this level of winning they've done the last couple of years.
He is Anthony Broome. Find him on Twitter. New Twitter alert, Broome on 3. Click the follow button. Always a pleasure, AB. Thank you so much for your time this morning, my man. Have a great week, partner. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.